What I woke up to is financial freedom is available today if I put this money to work strategically in things that I know and understand and that create passive income today.
Welcome to the High Voltage Business Builders, a show where we interview people committed to making their next million through passive income using real estate, brokering, e-commerce, and beyond. If you're a passionate business builder yourself, visit voltageb2b.com to get in touch now. Hey, welcome to the call, Joey. Great to have you here.
Always a pleasure, my friend.
Yeah, so it is Joey the Unicorn Mure. We're going to go into that in just a minute. I brought it up. Yes, I did. I will bring it up.
Right out of the gate.
Right out of the gate. Smack him right upside the unicorn. So what? We'll get into what that means to everybody who's listening. But Joey, obviously, and I have some history together. Gosh, it's been a few years. It seems like a longer time, and in the short time that it has been, we've gotten to know each other a little bit better. And Joey and Russ are great guys. They're friends, brothers from another mother in Alabama, I guess, from down under. And they have created an amazing ecosystem called the Wealth Without Wall Street. We're going to talk a little bit about that today, their concepts of infinite banking and growing and stopping trading time for money and some just amazing things they're doing with their group. And so I'm glad and honored to have you here. So let's unpack that just a little bit for the first 10 seconds. Max, tell everybody who you are. No, I'm kidding. For the first little bit here, give everybody a picture into you and Joey.
So Wealth Without Wall Street exists. We actually been working on the wording of this. We used to say it exists to help people break free of the mindset and bondage of Wall Street. But you know what? That's it's not 100% perfect, because really the mindset and bondage is thinking that you have to trade time for money, which I think Wall Street perpetuates and big banks perpetuate. But if you can get clear on that and think about, am I stuck thinking that I have to keep trading my time for money? That is a scarce mindset. And it's also something that is limiting. It's never going to produce freedom because you're in bondage. So that's why we exist. If that didn't get you fired up, I don't know. You don't need to listen to the rest of this, but I mean, that is what we're about, is freedom. And it's freedom for things like, as you're driving to work right now and you're thinking, I really wish that I could be, coaching my daughter's softball team, but it just isn't possible. Or I really wish that I could keep my wife home and she could help educate our kids, but we really need both incomes. Like, if any of these thoughts are present, those are the things you need to break free of and produce that freedom that you always wanted. That's why we exist. And to be honest, Russ and I have been on this journey since about 2009, 2010. And we have been building a process that people can follow that I personally went through unknowingly, right? I didn't even realize I was on this process and journey until it happened. And then we looked backwards and said, more people need to know this message. And they need to know the 3 steps to gaining financial freedom through passive income. That's what we're all about.
So how did you get started in this, Joey? Obviously, your background is in the financial space. Where did you?
That's right.
Yeah. How did you get into it? How did you and Russ meet?
Yeah. So we're brothers in Christ first, met at church and had a friendship. And he was a traditional financial planner. He was the belly of the beast at Wall Street. And I was in the mortgage business, constantly putting people in more and more debt every single day. And it was a joy to do so.
Somebody on this call just went, "Oh, that's that guy. He's the one that did that to me in 2008. I remember him."
That's the guy. But he shared with me in 2010 a book. And he said, "Hey, I'm going to start referring you my clients. I don't want you to mess this up. So I need you to understand the whole idea of what we're doing, so you don't put people in the wrong mortgage product, so on and so forth." And so I ended up reading the book, and it was like light bulbs went off. Like, all those things that didn't make sense to me about like putting money into 401ks and IRAs and like these things that separate you from your money, and they give you this hope strategy. Like, oh man, one day I might have enough, as long as the market doesn't crash, to possibly not live off dog food for the remaining of my life.
I call those hopium dealers.
Exactly.
Feeling and hope.
So if you've ever had that thought, I was that guy. And this book answered the process and the way to get out of it. So I started implementing those things. And 4 years in, I was still in the mortgage business. I looked at Russ at a conference and I said, Russ, more people need to know about this. Like, I'm so fired up. It's changed the trajectory of my family's financial future, the legacy that I want to have from building abundance in my family. And now I looked around the room and there's like 250 people in a North American conference for this. And I was like, obviously there's not enough people doing it. And it was like God was putting his thumb in my back and he said, why don't you do it? Why aren't you the guy willing to go and share that message? And just out of context, I was making over $300,000 a year in the mortgage business, comfortable, doing well, had a staff that was running things for me. And so there was a lot to give up to take that risk. But I knew that the impact it would have on people's lives, if it was anything like what it had been for us, our family, it would be so worth it to have that impact at a much higher scale with other people. And that's exactly what God's done since 2014. Russ and I then joined forces. And then in 2016 began the brand Wealth Without Wall Street, when we kind of started to make more sense of what was happening. And then our podcast launched in 2017. And we have been learning and growing personally to now the point we actually share this on our show every single month. Our personal passive income report comes out every month. We share with you the good, the bad, the ugly. And fortunately, having implemented all these different strategies has yielded us between $45,000 and $65,000 a month in personal passive income. And that is what we're sharing and helping people see the way to.
Well, you are actually one of the few people I can say is a real servant leader. I know a lot of people get on here and pontificate about the ideas of, well, the message and narratives is you really want to help people and this kind of stuff. And that's all great. They've heard it from other people. But if they get a chance to know you like I have, they know that you truly are those folks. You really do want to help. You're transparent. You produce your reports. You get people to walk alongside of you. And in the years that I've known you, it's one of the greatest things about what you do personally, and as well as what Russ does, is showing people exactly how to do that. And I've met a lot of the people who've become your clients through our relationship, and they are wonderful people, and they are having amazing results and changes. And I'm just honored to have you on here because I see the output of that. Now, I know you move into a number of things, and maybe we can talk about that book a little bit deeper here for a minute, and what it's led to, because there's a number of areas you've taken passive income or deployed money into different areas. Can you expand where that book kind of led you into the different areas that create that passive income for you?
Yeah. So I think just to summarize it, the book was all about taking control of your finances, becoming your own bank. Become Your Own Banker is the name of the book by Nelson Nash. And he just kind of points out the things that, again, were obvious to me, but I didn't really have an answer to. It was like, why would I put money into things that I can't touch, I can't control, I don't have any knowledge of? Like, for instance, if you asked me which mutual fund my 401k was invested in, I could not even tell you one, right? And that's a problem if you think personal responsibility and accountability, which is required in every other aspect of your life, like, it's a problem that we knowingly put money away into things and we hope because we've been told that it's to our benefit that we do so. Those things never made sense to me, but I didn't know how to like put into words what the alternative would be. And so this book did that for me. I started putting large amounts of cash into my control through this concept called infinite banking. And what that forced me to do, like, the vehicle is not as important, the investment is not as important as the actual process of putting money into your control and then creatively, putting together education that would help me to then put that money to work. Because you see, when you put money into things that you don't know, don't understand, can't touch, you turn that part of your brain off, right? There was never a time I had multi 6 figures in my 401k when I left the bank that I worked for. And not once did I ever think about, man, what could I do with that money to create financial freedom for myself today? It was always like, well, I hope it's working okay on its own.
Right. Hands off the
But
wheel.
yeah,
It's a different version of
but
Jesus take the wheel there, right? It's we put a lot of trust in those mechanisms, right? And we just kind of put our hands off and say, well, I really kind of hope that this is just going well for me.
And what I woke up to is financial freedom is available today if I put this money to work strategically in things that I know and understand and that create passive income today, not when I'm 65 or 70.
Right.
And again, those passive income streams could dry up if the market were to shift while I was in retirement.
Very dangerous time when people don't recognize. For that about 11 or 12 year lifespan you have after retirement.
Exactly.
Enjoy it.
Which we don't have time to go into, but retirement is a lie. Like, you are never supposed to be out of service, right? When I retire a piece of equipment, that means it's out of service. You were never meant to be retired. You were always meant to serve others in a way that glorifies God. And so this is the time, taking control of your finances, putting it into place that you can control and use to create passive income is the answer. And that's what I learned through that book. And then subsequently educating myself through talking to experts like you, Neil, in the e-commerce and FBA space, like talking to guys like you and talking to experts in all these other fields that we've been able to build passive income. Those were the times that I was really growing and then putting that money to work.
Yeah. So some of the areas we've talked about, I know of, and let's kind of break it out here. You took the concept, obviously, of be your own banker. You've put cash into a money situation that allows you to basically take that money as you need and use it and put it to work immediately into passive income now, not when you retire. And there's a number of areas you do that in. What are some of the areas specifically that you're most focused on right now in the coming year?
Yeah. So we've done, if you listen to our report, I welcome you to go and check that out anytime. You'll hear we have a land flipping business. We have a short-term rental business. We have Ethereum miners that mine cryptocurrency that we then can use for Bitcoin or whatever else we want to do. We have ATM funds that we invest in. There's 7 ATMs that we own that spit out a consistent monthly return of the premium that we use to buy those in the beginning. We have syndications in multifamily, single family homes that we own. We do have some e-commerce, but that has definitely not been our high point, which, Neil, I'm going to put you in a headlock until you help me figure out how to create one of those to be super successful. And I have actually even most recently bought an RV that my family enjoys. And when we're not enjoying it, we actually rent it to others through a management company. And that has been super fun.
Renting RVs. I know that you could do that in cars. I guess that makes complete sense. You could do it. It's like co-signing almost with rentals, like an Uber for RVs. Is that what I'm understanding?
Well, what it is if you ever look up like rvshare.com or Outdoorsy, one of those, you can actually go, there's a whole marketplace of people that will rent their RV to you. And I figured this out when I went to go try to rent one myself. And for a 22-day trip, it was going to be almost like $10,000.
That's a lot
for my family
we did the same,
go on this trip.
Yeah, I was like, good night. You could pay for one. You can buy one for that.
I was like, how much more could it be to buy one? Exactly. And so sure enough, I went and bought one. Yeah. And now I have a company that rents it for me. So it is totally passive on my end, but super fun. I mean, to have an asset that you can use anytime you want, but it also creates cash flow. That was really, really intriguing.
Now, short-term rentals are also one of the spaces you're in. Last I remembered, you had about 19 or so doors. Is that still about, or you got?
We're about 25 now.
Okay.
And we are, as of next week, we are purchasing a house. We've been doing an arbitrage model, where we rent the property and then turn it around and sublease it on short-term basis, which that's a whole nother podcast. But What this most recent one we found is it's a 5-bedroom house on 7 acres with a pool and on a 30-acre lake. And we're going to transition it to 7 bedrooms and have a 25 to 30 person event space in the basement. So it could be used for any number of like small weddings or corporate retreats or anything like that. And so anyways, that's taken our short-term rental game to a whole new level. And I'm excited to see where that goes, but that's our biggest new focus.
Wow. So you're leveling up into multiple bedrooms, bigger doors, if you will. More doors in a single unit. That's fantastic. And Airbnb, I suppose?
Yes, we use all sorts of different marketing, arms like VRBO or Airbnb or Booking.com. So all those things feed to actually fill in the units. And we're about like 77 to 80% occupied in all the units. And this new one, we're expecting it's going to be a much higher price tag. So it'll probably be closer to like 50% occupied, but it should be really, really special.
So if I'm sitting here listening to you and I'm thinking at this moment, I'm maybe an intrapreneur, like maybe when you started thinking about how to become an entrepreneur on my own, and I'm sitting on some 401k cash or I'm sitting on some other assets, wondering what to do next. How much do I need to get started? How much should I put into a banking? How much would is it 10,000, 50,000? Do you have to have a couple 100,000 to get in going?
What I would do is I would back up 1 second and I wouldn't jump to how much do I need to get started. We created 3 steps to help people really get focused in on what's most important at the right time to basically bring you to financial freedom as fast as possible. Okay. So if it's okay, I want to break that down.
Absolutely. Define that.
Because that would feed to your question.
Absolutely.
All right. So think about this. You pull up your Maps app on your phone and you're ready to go somewhere, but you don't put in a destination. How fast are you going to get to your destination?
Whatever I estimate.
It's never going to happen, right? Because you don't have a goal. So think about the 3 letters GPS. Those are the steps that it takes to get to financial freedom. You have to have a goal, you have to have a plan, and then you have to have support. So break that down. We created a course called the Passport Challenge. And if you go to wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/passport, you can get access to this for free and you actually become a part of our community for free. So if that's cool, I want to share that.
Absolutely.
But that gets you essentially so focused in on your goal. And what I mean by goal is, what does financial freedom look like for you? Who will you be when you're financially free? What will you be doing or not doing, like stop doing, like trading time for money? And what will you have? Like, what is the tangible result of financial freedom that you can look forward to? Because here's the problem. Sometimes we get so focused in on, well, what are you investing in? Because I just want a good investment.
Shortcuts.
Well, yeah. Well, what's the investment if it doesn't get you to your goal as fast as possible? So it seems a little bit silly. Like you're like, well, why are we focusing on like visioning and like thinking about these things? Well, if you don't do that, then the investment doesn't matter. The amount you put into your infinite banking policies and system doesn't matter because you don't have a tangible thing that you're going towards. So once you get that goal, and it's not hard to do, it just takes mental energy. And to be honest, I feel like, Neil, you know this, we're so stinking busy, all of us, constantly filling all of our time with everything but things that are most important to us. If you don't ever stop and focus on this, it will never happen. That's why we had to create a course that just forced us to help do this. So get your goal. The second thing is a plan. And that's where you start thinking, okay, what sort of investor am I? Okay, so we created an assessment that's called the Investor DNA. And this is really kind of mind-boggling. If you don't start with what sort of investor you are, the investment doesn't matter. And you'll see on that passive income matrix that comes with it, that e-commerce is one of those options. And you kind of start saying, well, what are the pros of e-commerce? What are the cons of e-commerce? As opposed to each personality type, right? So if I'm the type of investor that wants fast results, quick paced, want to be able to influence and interject my own take on things, and I love to market and things like that. That's one personality profile in the investor DNA. Well, you're going to be able to see which of the passive income ideas that are listed on our matrix match up with that and would really fire you up, or that you need to partner with somebody like in order to be successful in that venture. So that's where your plan starts, is who are you as an investor? And then which of those passive income ideas really match up to you? And then it drives you to, okay, how much cash is this going to take? So that you start thinking about, where's the money that I have right now that I've been entrusted with, that I can steward maybe in a more efficient manner to get me to my goal as fast as possible. And that's where infinite banking comes in. And that's where you start to really pour the money into the place that will get you there the fastest.
So the 3-step way to understand your GPS and on your road trip to becoming an investor.
That's right.
Yeah, no, it's very, very smart. And I appreciate you breaking that down. So guys, you got to check that out. It's a free resource. Thanks for offering that today. wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/passport.
Passport.
All right. wealthwithoutwallstreet.com/passport. Go get that free resource. Check it out. It's a wonderful community. I'm hanging out in there as well.
You're always adding value in there.
There's all kinds of fun things to deal with in there. You guys have got good content, great people, good resources, and there's a lot to unpack on what you shared today. We're going to stop now or we'll blow some heads, but I'll probably have you back on later to get into more details about that. If you would, and I'm honored to have you on, guys. Go check it out. Joey and Russ, wealthwithoutwallstreet.com. And you can see what they're doing to stop trading time for money. And you can become a unicorn like Joey. You gotta go be a unicorn. We're going to talk about that story another time. Thanks for coming on, bud. Appreciate you.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
If you like this episode, please share it with people you think will enjoy it as well. Thank you for listening, and be sure to tune in next week for a brand new episode of High Voltage Business Builders.